seems to work in terms of giving the capitalist an increasing personal consumption fund, um, maintaining zero unemployment, and also allowing workers to still take their 1% real wage increase every year. So yeah, at least for this scenario, whereas the crisis would normally hit right around here, by dialing back the population growth in this scenario, it still seems to preserve the capitalists' personal profits. And of course, the population then starts to absolutely decrease. But yeah, so for the workers that are still around, all works out well. And assuming this population decrease is coming about, via voluntary and humane means, that is to say, through birth control, then, I don't really see how workers, could object to it, other than the fact that, there is ballooning inequality in terms of the capitalists, still making 8,000 times his initial, income, whereas workers are still at 7.3 times their initial income. So there's huge inequality, to be sure. The gains are not spread evenly, but the point is that there at least are some minimal gains for every segment of, every social class, in capitalist production in this case. And if it's coming about through birth control, then that's not harming the lives of the already existing workers. Now, of course, like I said, this could come about also through some sort of drastic holocaust, where I think singer-songwriter David Rovics used to have a song. I think it was about Paul Wolfowitz. Pay your debts and say goodbye. Paul Wolfowitz is here. Making fun of the right-wing neocons of the Bush administration. And he used to have the line in the song that said, "There will be no poverty once we kill off all the poor." And obviously that was meant in sarcastic jest, as indicating that that's basically what the neocon economic platform amounted to, as far as their plans for reducing poverty. But in sort of a weird way, this could end up being true. There's no need necessarily for unemployment, even with declining need for labor. There won't necessarily be any unemployment if the unemployed are either killed off or not born in the first place due to declining birth rate. And I think workers, when choosing between the two, or choosing between the three scenarios rather, unemployment, Holocaust, or voluntary birth control, I think the one that would be most pleasant to live under, assuming those are your only three alternatives, would be the birth control, voluntary birth control alternative. Now, like I've said at the beginning of this series of videos, this isn't meant to rule out or argue against the idea that there might be a system better than this capitalist system of economic reproduction that will be, that will create even greater gains for society, and that will be shared even more equally. We don't have the capitalists taking in, increasing the wealth by 8,000 times, and average people only increasing their wealth by 7.3 times. And maybe there's a possible system one could design that would work better than this. So I'm not ruling that out. I'm just saying that it appears that birth control would be a response to this crisis within capitalism, where the capitalists have to lay off workers, and they don't have the incentive to keep employing ever more workers. it appears that this is not an insoluble crisis, but that it could potentially be overcome. Which, if that's true, well, then that leads to a couple questions. If we don't follow this birth control regime, then it's a moot point anyways, and we might still have a breakdown of capitalism and revolution, and a replacement of capitalism by some new economic system, socialism or whatnot. But assuming that we did, assuming that the capitalists were intelligent enough, or were farsighted enough to follow this plan for their own good and to preach to people birth control, and gradually trimming down the population as the need for labor decreases, then then it's kind of an open question whether revolution would strictly be necessary. In that case, it would appear that the decision to launch a revolution to replace capitalism with something else would merely be done out of preference or subjective desire rather than objective necessity. So labor theorists and Marxists should consider these findings carefully, and maybe you can poke some holes in this if you look at it closely enough. By all means, double check that I have all of my equations correctly on the spreadsheet. I'm going to upload this spreadsheet to my WordPress website and make it available for download so that you can play around with it. You can mess around with changing different variables, and like I said, just double check to see that I have correctly set up this reproduction system with all the correct equations. But yeah, assuming this is all correct, I think it definitely should have some very interesting things for labor theorists to ponder. So check it out, and thank you for watching this series of videos. Goodbye.